Hey guys, it's Cynical Who here, and welcome back to another Doctor Who review. Today, me and Max will be talking about tonight's episode, Can You Hear Me?
Question
Now,
mark.
yeah, can you hear me? Question mark. Now, tell you what, I'll let you start as always. So what did you think of Can You Hear
Um,
Me?
I would say, although it wasn't perfect and I found nits to pick in it, on the whole, I liked it and I admired what it was trying to do.
Okay,
7.5 out of 10. Okay, I'm done. I'm going now.
all right,
No,
fine.
I'm not really, but
I
I've
don't
got
want
more
to.
to say than that.
This is
But
quite a bold statement, but I'm close to saying it's my favorite episode of the Chibnall era so
I'd go
far.
with that. I think
Yeah.
it's up there.
I
It's
really
certainly.
liked it. It was right
It's.
down my alley because I'm a fan of
It's
things like Midnight and Forest of the
Yeah,
Dead.
it's more imaginative and metaphorical. You know how
Mm.
Vincent and the Doctor had a monster inspired by depression that was blind and all that. I suppose it was subtler, but here it was an episode about mental health. It wasn't quite as in your face as Orphan 55, although the dregs make a comeback, don't they?
Oh
Um,
yeah.
but yeah, but yeah. Sorry, I lost my train of thought there. Just went off a cliff there. But it was, although I found the bit at the end where he goes to the council thing a bit too in your face, and I liked the fact that the monster was inspired by mental health, and I liked the fact that I was thinking towards the end, this is going a bit slow. The resolution is probably going to be wrapped up too quickly. Email there.
Mm.
But I actually think the way they resolved it was very good, and basically saying, people are very good at conquering their own fears, and that's the best solution. And but I did get a bit miffed with the council scene at the end. I was thinking, why doesn't Ryan just sort of sit down and talk? You don't need to spend money and book a counsellor. Just sit down with them. And there were just moments where the Doctor mainly just came across as sociopathic unintentionally, particularly towards Graham. Especially that scene
Oh
at the
yeah.
end where he's
Yeah.
talking. It's like, oh, I'm supposed to say something. Yeah,
I'm a
it's
bit
just
socially awkward, you see.
yeah, well, yeah, but it's just played for laughs, and it's just it feels a bit inappropriate, really, and just the
Yeah.
Doctor was a bit too bubbly at times, really. Um,
But overall,
yeah,
a
but
very good story.
my main other bugbear was we have the bit where the Doctor's trapped in the nightmares with everyone else, and it's like,
Mhm.
oh god, it's the timeless child, the Doctor's worst nightmare, but we only see it for a second, and then the Doctor, for no explicable reason that's never explained, just wakes up. And it's not really explained.
Huh.
There's not even a line of dialogue saying, "Oh, I'm stronger than people. I just woke up out of it." He just suddenly wakes up, and it's like, that can go, and it's not really acknowledged. It was like, how did you wake up from that nightmare? It just
It's
feels a
because the
bit.
script demanded it, and we're not supposed to know what the Timeless Child is yet.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It feels a bit. It's like that's Chris Chibnall's contribution. Probably he
Yeah.
thought, "Oh, we can refer to the plot arc," but it's the same problem with Series 11. There are occasional nods. There is a plot arc as with Series 11. And there are occasional nods to it, but it just feels really jarring at times. And then there are episodes where it's hardly mentioned at all that make it feel less important and makes those filler episodes seem more fillery.
Yeah, her nightmare with the Timeless Child was just
Fillery Hillary.
a prick tease. Like, I just wanted to know more. If you're gonna give some out, dish the whole buffet out. Come on. I
But
mean,
I
it's
will
not
say,
long to go now until
it's.
the finale.
Yeah, I will say it was very dark at times. That was
Mm,
actually, if memory serves me correctly, the first time that they actually aired the BBC Action Line number over the end credits. That's the
yeah.
first time that's ever happened with an episode of Doctor Who. I don't think it was that intense, but it was certainly dark. There were moments, though, because of my black humour, I ashamed to say that I was laughing out loud. Because
Which
where the
bits were
fingers
they
come
then?
out, yeah, well, the bit with the
Oh,
fingers, when the fingers come out, and Mum was like, and I was laughing. Especially the bit near the end, there are no bogeymen. That should have been in the trailer. It's such a great moment. There are no bogeymen. That's not true.
I
And
think.
and also the moment where Graham is told his cancer's coming
Oh
back.
yeah, that was fantastic. I love that.
Yeah, but it's just the black humour in me
I've
found
been
that.
I've been
It,
meaning
it
to mention this in all these videos. I've been meaning to come around to, but I always forget because we start waffling on about some other program or something. But
well,
I've really, I don't want to sound dark or morbid or anything, but I've wanted Graham's cancer to come back. But even though it hasn't
well,
yet, but it would
yeah.
have been. It's such a good plot device
Yeah, it
because
just feels
it could
they're
be.
gonna do it at some point because
Yeah,
it's quite predictable.
the
But
reason he's gonna stop traveling with the Doctor is like his cancer's gonna come back, and it's a
yeah,
dilemma.
I
Is he
think
gonna let Ryan carry on
to
traveling?
to speculate on companion departures for a minute, I always thought there's because we're wondering, oh, which companion's gonna go. I've heard rumor. I would prefer it if it were episode 10, but apparently they were filming the special episode, which as yet we don't know when that's going to go out, but we'll probably know after episode 10. My guess would be Christmas time, holiday season, and then we get a season in April or maybe September. But
Or the
I always
Chibnall
thought,
New Year's.
yeah, because the companions all came as a family. I think if one of them dropped, the two of them would decide actually we're not sure we can do this, or they would probably all go together because they're a tight knit family. But yeah, that's my. Did you notice it felt a bit weird how the episode just sort of very slowly, there was sort of 10 minutes of Dane Newman just going around all the characters and sorry, I just had a annoying notification pop up there. And the bit about Yaz's thing I found very weird because I thought, that something really bad happened when she was a probationer and it went wrong and there was a death. But it was just
that's what I thought.
Someone being irritated, which I could relate to. People saying, "Oh, it's all right to suffer," and those annoying little pricks. But then it's kind of like, she knocks on the door, and then it's, I gave you 50p.
I bought you 50p.
Oh, that's really nice. Thank you. I'm gonna hug you and come in. I just thought, I should have been more generous. Maybe just at least a tenner or something like that. I didn't really feel I wasn't sure why that qualifies as her worst nightmare. I know she was going through a bad patch, but why that specific moment? I think that like I said, there were nits to pick, and I wasn't sure about Jodie Whittaker's portrayal. Yeah, am I ever? But I admired what it was trying to do.
I think my major nitpick, I didn't really like the whole finger thing. That was a bit weird. I would like if it was like darts that came out of their fingers.
You could question why they looked like fingers, but I suppose psychologically, if you see a finger fly towards you, that probably causes you more torture psychologically. Is possibly. I just I love how fans sort of justify weird
not
things
talking
like
from
that.
Personal experience.
Yeah, but oh what god! I thought at first the direction was a bit flat, but kind of got a bit better. I don't know. I was thinking as it was going on, I would have done a couple of things more differently. Chopped a few lines, edited the dialogue, shot Zelin and the black woman in profile, and sort of played, because it felt like they were sort of romantically attracted to each other in my mind, and I would have played that more. You know how in Caves of Androzani, Morgus and Crowd Timon are sort of in the left and they're shot in profile, very close and intimate. I would have done it like that. They appear in the same shot together in profile and sort of shot it like a romance where they're about to kiss, which I would have loved it if that happened. My twisted sense of... but what did you make of the animated sequence as well?
Oh god, there was so much stuff about that beforehand. People freaking out online because it's an animated. I was thinking, is it going to be like a sort of dream world type thing, or is it just going to be an exposition like it was? And it was an exposition, so that's fine.
I would have preferred.
And even if it was an animated sort of dream sequence, I would have been fine with that. That's like experimental.
Yeah.
Like it was a bit meta for me.
Yeah, I don't mind it being animated. My problem with it would really lie with the style of animation, because it was all a bit kids cartoony, and it's actually a bit of a throwaway sequence. I think it's kind of... I always think of Deathly Hallows Part 1, the animated sequence in that, where they're talking about the tale of the three brothers. Yeah. They should have gone for a style close to that, even though Dad said this was a rip-off of Event Horizon, but I don't really care, to be honest. But... I just wouldn't have minded that they ripped off Deathly Hallows. At least it's a style of animation that would have worked well, because it was dark and sort of slightly more realist. But no, I just thought it was a bit too colourful, really. But a bit of a throwaway sequence. But yeah, I have mixed to positive views on it, shall we say.
And I get to put Grace in the thumbnail, which means more views for me.
Don't do that. It was a throwaway moment, and and I don't like Grace.
Oh, well, fair enough.
No. Just, But it's, that was a nice moment. Yeah. I thought it was a bit of a missed opportunity that as her face should have mutated into something grotesque at the end. It could have gone out of its way to scare a bit more, I think. Could have gone a bit more Chris Morris's jam.
Yeah, I think as you were saying, like her face mutating, or whatever. That would have been awesome. I would have loved, like as I was Miss Evangelista from the Forest of the Dead. Yeah,
something like that. It's sort of like a jump scare like that.
Yeah, it was pretty creepy. I'm gonna be honest. I did get a jump scared once by the bald man. I don't know what he's called. I'm going to call it Alan because he
Yeah.
looks like an Alan.
One thing that did irritate me, every time he appears, we get like a little "duh" from Seiga Nakanola, which made me struggle to take it seriously somewhat because it just happens every time, and it lurches you out of it because it's not very subtle.
I didn't notice that, but
No, but when he appears, there's like a little musical stab.
alright. I'll have to give it a rewatch.
Seigan, let's
some
just
of
put it
it-
this way: Seiga Nakanola is no Murray Gold. He's all right, but he's no Murray Gold.
Yeah, but let's hope he doesn't start reusing the same old crap.
Well, yeah, Murray Gold did outstay his welcome a bit, but
Mm.
but yeah, Sagan's music does sometimes sway a bit far. It's either too bland or it's just all too in your face.
I think I'll have to give the whole episode. I was a bit a few of the lines I missed because my sister decided to set off a bomb in the kitchen at the same time that ran the entire duration of the episode, or at least
Well,
that's what it sounded
nice.
like.
I'm just glad, and I don't want to tempt fate here. I'm just glad we didn't have a power cut because I was anxious that was going to happen. What with Storm Kira or however it is you pronounce it.
Oh God, just imagine. And then I'm uploading this video. It doesn't get.
Yeah.
God.
But on the whole, I would probably give it 7 out of 10. I'm not sure I have much else to say about it.
Oh, you said 7.5 at the beginning of the video.
Yeah, sort of. I'm sort of picking more nits in it as I talk about it, but I think it was certainly one of the better ones of this run, if not of the whole era.
I think
Certainly
it might. Yeah.
It's much better than last week because I really got my hopes up for last week, and it turned out to be a bit of a beige disappointment, really. I do think I thought this to a lesser extent with Series 11 because I felt like Rosa and Arachnate in the UK would have made more sense if they'd swapped round, although I can understand why they wanted to put Rosa as episode 3. And it's a similar story with this series. I feel like they would have benefited more if they put the episodes in a different order. It would have aided the plot arc a bit more. Although I can understand why Fugitive of the Judoon was episode 5 and Orphan 55 was episode 3. I think the filler episodes should have been placed as near the start as possible, and then all the stuff that contributes to the plot arc. So you put Fugitive of the Judoon and Can You Hear Me a bit later in the run, and then depending on whether or not next week's episode, which is Haunting of Villa Diodati, Frankenstein, that might feature the Cybermen, I don't know, but if that does feature the Cybermen, keep it where it is. But if it's just a filler episode that doesn't add to the plot arc, then just move it upwards, move it forward. But of course, you get little nods in Fugitive of the Judoon, and this episode they lead on to the next story, which is interesting. They're putting a lot more effort in this year. I certainly get that feeling. It's not as huge an improvement as I would like, but it's certainly you feel the plot arc more, even though it's not as well executed as say Moffat but you certainly feel it more this series. But yeah,
I like to see that these adventures are actually having lasting effects on the characters, like Orphan 50, the Dregs with Ryan. I like that bit.
I was thinking what should have happened because I heard that Ryan's friend appears in this. I've wondered that maybe he should be killed off, possibly, to show that there are consequences with travelling with the Doctor, and that's foreshadowing, and that causes resentment. That would have been quite interesting. But that's just my personal what I would have done if I were script editor. We can all dream or have nightmares. For everyone else,
it's come finger you in your sleep.
For everyone else, me being script editor will probably be a nightmare. Self-deprecation there.
Right. Again, I missed something because there was a lot of noise going on. But was the two evil people? They're not characters that have been in there before, have they?
No.
Okay, because I thought she was supposed to know him, and didn't the BBC say something about a returning character?
What? Not for this episode, I don't think.
Oh, okay. That makes more sense then. But yeah, okay. I thought he was supposed to be like some celestial toy maker guy, but it was a reference.
I was thinking that as he was talking with the Doctor, I thought they could have put the celestial. He would have made a very good celestial toy maker. That actor, although he's a little bit camp, but that's mainly because of the dialogue more than anything else. Really, it's a little portentous, the dialogue. But still, I liked the fact they got the word ephemeral in there, because I'm easily impressed by things like that. But no, I thought it was all right. And unless you've got anything else to say, we might as well move on. Otherwise, we'll be here all night because there are certainly other things we need to talk about, aren't there?
Yeah. So what are we looking forward to next week's? Let me see if I can pull it up again because I keep on forgetting the name. It
The
is
Haunting of Villa Diodati.
absolutely by the same writer.
No, it's by Maxine Alderton, who,
Oh,
from the
sorry, same
sounds of it,
director.
is certainly an expert on the Romanticist. I'm studying Frankenstein at the moment for A level, and certainly a lot of my Year 12 lessons, my teacher is quite enthusiastic about Lord Byron, who appears in the episodes because he's there as well. And we laughed quite a lot about Byron because he was a fascinating character. Quite sexually promiscuous, shall we say?
Right.
I think I'm right in saying he seduced his nanny when he was 10 years old.
Oh, great. Lovely.
I think I've got that right. I might have got that slightly
Well, it
wrong.
wouldn't be a
but
Cynical
certainly
Who video without
he
it.
was described by Coleridge, I believe, as mad, bad, and dangerous to know.
All right.
I always thought instead of doing Upstart Crow about Shakespeare, Ben Elton should do a sitcom about him because he's just such a more interesting character. Because he's just doing it with anything that moves, from the sounds of it. But no, the episode itself. To move it back to the discussion, I'm not sure it could go either way. I feel part of me thinks it's going to be filler. Part of me thinks we might get something, even if it's just a little scene that sort of takes us into the finale. Similar to how the Eaters of Light sort of segues into World Enough and Time in Series 10. I found the idea of Shelley meeting the Cybermen quite interesting, but
as I continuously mention, and
it's a big
on
finish,
Twitter,
and
it's been done.
Yeah, and I'm less sure that's going to happen, to be honest. But we'll see. I don't feel
because if they do, that's gonna fuck up the canon.
Yeah,
completely.
I'm starting to think less that they're going to show up. But no, it'll be interesting. We'll see what happens. But what's more interesting, the 2-part series finale, which somewhat infuriatingly is not called Part 1, Part 2 like Spyfall.
It is Ascension of the Cybermen and the Timeless Children. Oh, I wonder what that could be about.
Isn't consistent, but
no,
yeah, I've got the Doctor Who magazine with me, so if you just bear with me, and I'll get the previews up, and I can.
Ooh.
I won't spoil it, but Mistress of Chaos Part 6 is very good. It concludes the comic strip that's been going, and I personally think it's brilliant.
Fair enough.
Lovely.
I should probably track down all the issues so I can read that at some point.
Wow.
I've
kind of, it's just been there in the background. It's been okay, but this last part has sort of really lifted it up. It's sort of slowly been building up. Right, I've got the episode preview here. So episode 8, Haunting the Villa Diodati, and they go along to the night, and then it's apparently quite scary like this one, and it's old school creepy haunted house because we haven't had that before in the last few years with Knock Knock and Hide,
which you can hear in Max's underrated videos, which is
I'll give it a chance. Actually, I was thinking today, The Beast Below and Power of Three, I forgot, were 2 other episodes that I feel personally quite attached to.
We can do a revisited version. Oh,
yeah.
Sorry,
so basically, after that, Ascension of the Cybermen. So apparently, the Series 12 finale is part of a carefully parcelled out plan. This is Chris Chibnall speaking. I imagined all along that the Cybermen would happen at the end of this series, and the 2-part gives them the weight they deserve. Because we haven't had 2-parters with the Cybermen, recently. Series 8 and 10. Yeah. Well, maybe third time lucky, because I have mixed feelings about Darkwater, and Word Enough and Time is okay, but Twice Upon a Time ruins it.
Oh, definitely.
And he basically said, I love Of the Cybermen titles. This is Chibnall again. There hasn't been an Of the Cybermen title since Rise of the Cybermen in 2006, so I decided it was about time. Ascension of the Cybermen is set at the end of the Great Cyber War. This is a conflict that's reduced both Cybermen and humanity to barely anything. It's the last remnants of the Cybermen against the last refugees of humanity in this corner of the universe. These refugees are on the run from the particularly relentless, ruthless Cybermen who are on their trail. Cybermen are relentless, single-minded and brutal. That's the essence of their monster personality, that bit in commas. The nightmare is how do you escape them, because they're around every corner and they just won't stop. The humans are desperate and the Cybermen just keep going. So the episode apparently features Shetland star Julie Graham as Ravio. It's directed by Jamie Magnus Stone. So what can viewers expect from this story? Chibnall said, Ascension of the Cybermen is one of those episodes where the Doctor and her friends are all on the run from different threats. We head into the next episode with the jeopardy of whether they're ever going to meet up again, ... What do you make of what you've just heard?
I'm intrigued.
It's like
Like
every
the
episode. I
show,
think this could go two ways. It will either be really good or it will be really bad. Well, no, actually, it will either be good or it will sort of be mediocre. It might not live up to its promise. It's certainly a promising idea, but will it live up to that promise?
And
then
I
after...
forgot what I was going to say. Sorry, carry on.
It's all right. But then after that, episode 10 is called The Timeless Children.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Chris Chibnall has been very helpful, and he says... I can't tell you anything about this episode, and that's probably one of the quotes you need to use in this article. I imagine everyone who reads the magazine will be aware of all the seeds we've been laying down since the arrival of Jodie's Doctor. The Timeless Child is mentioned as far back as the Ghost Monument, and the final episode of this series is where some of those questions get answered. See, I did know what I was saying. The Timeless Child was not just a throwaway line like you all thought it was. You idiots! I might have made that last bit up, but... It's a huge emotional finale with lots of Cybermen. And it runs for 65 minutes.
Ooh,
so we're
65
we're
minutes.
going to be stripped for time when we do our review of it afterwards. So thanks, Chibbers. But on the plus side, it certainly feels like it's going to be more epic than Ranskoor Av Kolos. Hopefully. Which reminds me, I did get, you know, the font at the start of this episode where it says Aleppo, Syria. They can't make their minds up on what font to use. Why can't they just use the font they used in Ranskoor Av Kolos when it says 2,000 years later? Because that font looks alright and consistent with the font they're using in the marketing. Rather
than using that word art on resolution.
Oh, yeah, well, anything could be better than that, to be honest.
Yeah.
So Chris says that... we went over the 60 minutes that we thought we would need, but we have a good relationship, blah, blah, blah. Will this episode be as geographically epic as Ascension, or will it condense the conflict to a more personal struggle? Both, says Chris decisively. It's both epic and personal. This is what you're always looking for in the series finale. The way the big universe-threatening story impacts the personal lives of your characters. And categorically, that's what's happening in this episode.
Okay.
So
are the Cybermen going to get Graham, find his tumour, and just...
I don't know.
Go...
I've heard a rumour, spoiler alert, that Yaz gets converted, and there were newspaper reports that apparently she turns bad. Minor spoiler there, probably. But certainly it feels like it's building up to some companion departure. So episodes 9 and 10, directed by Jamie Magnus Stone, who handled Spyfall Part 1 and Praxeus. There are thematic ideas that get raised in that first episode because it's about spies and about identity and wearing different identities. Something that Team TARDIS are dealing with in the first part of Spyfall, and something we saw more of tonight, is squaring the identity of the Doctor versus the identity of who they are in their normal lives, and the Doctor's starting to wrestle with that as well. In a way, that theme gets carried on through the series, and it's picked up again in these last two episodes. It was nice directing the episode 9 cliffhanger and then editing episodes 9 and 10 together. Doing the finale in particular really felt like making a movie, like making 2 hours worth of film, basically. Chris says Jamie really knows how to do action and emotion. He's the full package and he delivers these scripts brilliantly. Jamie says some stuff about how great Chris is.
He always says that.
Chris says the narrative shape of Series 12 only becomes clear with the Timeless Children. There's a deliberate journey. In Spyfall Part 1, they're buoyant and having fun. Where we leave them at the end of episode 10 is an entirely different place. I'm hoping it ends open-ended and leads into a special episode. But I feel like there's going to be some big, interesting things happening. That's just my subconscious. Chris just ends it by saying, watch this episode live or as soon as you can.
What do we think about this new Cyberman design, by the way?
Oh, yes, because we saw brief pictures of that, didn't we? I like it. They look robotic, and certainly the Cybermen look more unsettling if you see the human aspects of them. But I like that. Yeah. It's certainly my favourite Cyberman design since the new era began, because it strikes that perfect balance. I like how they've kind of melded all the Cyberman designs into one, but it doesn't feel like a real mishmash. It feels like a completed, fully formed product, and it looks really nice. It will work quite well on screen, I think. They've just got to nail the voices. Nightmare and Silver, they sound a bit too robotic, but they're like I certainly prefer them to the 2013 Cybermen.
Yeah, definitely. I prefer anything to them.
But yeah, So that will be interesting to see what happens there. I do want to talk about, if you've got nothing else to say about the finale, or
Not particularly, just how
I
quickly it's all gone.
yeah, well, that's what happens with 10 episodes. But
Hmm.
I I wonder what's going to happen. I feel that after episode 10, we'll probably get the announcement like we did straight after Ranskor Avkolos of what's going to happen next when Series 13 is going to air. So that'll be interesting. But as I say, I think it will probably be. I would be surprised if it wasn't April, because that allows them similar amount of time. But I have heard rumours that they might not start until sort of early summer or September, which will mean an autumn release. But another thing that interested me that we learnt about this week, Millennium FX have are no longer
Yeah.
doing the special effects, and that was it's very sad because they've contributed so much. I do think they're an integral part of Doctor Who's success and its legacy over the last 15 years, because they contributed Clockwork Robot, Weeping Angels, the Hoiks, the Autons, and many more besides that. And it does feel like there's sort of, I might be jumping to conclusions a little bit, but it feels the way it's been quite abrupt and mid-series, and it felt like that statement was kind of alluding to something that implied that, I don't know if it was acrimonious or not, but it certainly felt like they'd stayed too long and decided that they couldn't do it anymore. 15 years was long enough, and it was probably time to get out before it all completely went tee up. Because that statement was quite... because it was basically, for those who haven't seen the statement, they said on Instagram 15 years ago, our first job for Doctor Who was creating the Autons that hijack plastic and use it to kill people. 15 years later, we worked on an episode called Praxeus, which is about a virus that infects plastic and kills people. Anyway, moving on, which could imply that they were getting tired, frustrated with the lack of creativity on the production team, which is one of my main bugbears of Series 12 for me personally. But like other people have said, they are at least good ideas as opposed to last series. But part of me thinks they probably just, like Murray Gold, probably decided he'd stay too long and probably it was time to... But it's interesting. I don't know if anyone's going to come along who will be able to live up to that easily. I don't know if I've worried that the show might go downhill aesthetically, but I don't know if that's catastrophizing, but I just thought that was interesting to note if people haven't seen it.
So, is that a good place to end it? We've almost hit 30 minutes. I'd like to quickly talk about next week, what our review will be. Will we be available? Because we're together next week, aren't we? When the episode airs, we'll literally be.
So I've heard. It's been said, but not in a definite voice. But I think that's what's happening. So
okay,
that might maybe next
our review
week,
may be a few days late next week, but we'll be sure to tweet out our opinions or whatever. So do make sure you're following us on Twitter.
And certainly, I'm sure episode 9 and episode 10 it will be similar to this. Episode 10, I'm certain I can make. Episode 9, I'm 90% sure.
Episode 9, there's a chance of getting a guest on.
Yes,
I've told you. I think you know who that is, but
yes,
I'll leave that vague for the moment. But yeah.
And then I think with episode 10, it runs for 65 minutes. With episode 10, we'll just do a video on episode 10. And then it will probably be worth doing another video talking more generally about Series 12 and our thoughts on it. But let's not worry about that for the moment. I don't know whether to do that the week after or maybe wait a few weeks, wait for the dust to settle, and then maybe we rewatch it at our leisure. But
I mean, I do have some other stuff planned. With to do with 15 years of Doctor Who, but I'll leave it at that.
Okay. Sounds intriguing. This is the first I've heard of it.
Yeah, I'll tell you about it in a minute. But
okay.
Is that all we have to say for?
Can you hear me? I haven't looked on IMDb yet to see the ratings. Now, of course, this tends to change because I remember a few people have commented on Praxeus. It was 7 out of 10, but it's gone down since then. If I just see,
I'm just looking now. So, a lot of people on Twitter, people are giving. I've seen someone give it a 5 out of 10. Some people don't like it
out of 10?
Much.
Oh yeah,
5.
It's got 6.8. Part of me wondered very briefly if it was going to be another Orphan 55. I don't know what made me think that, but oh yeah, someone said 6 out of 10. This one could have been so much more. I kind of feel like that as well. It was good, but I feel like it could have been more. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Um,
6.8. That's not.
so I'm just reading what it says quickly. This is Real Recallan. I've probably butchered that pronunciation. So their companion's nightmares coming to life could have made for a
Oh.
stellar episode that could have enhanced the story arc, but we get one god who's fingering people's ears while they sleep to steal their nightmares. That they managed to get away with that thing quite dark. I never thought that was silly, to be honest. Um,
I've just noticed. I don't know if we knew this before, but looking on IMDb, a summary of the Timeless Trilogy has been put up, and there's a mention of Mondas. Did you
hmm.
know? Did you know about this? I didn't.
I haven't seen that.
The
Oh
true.
yeah,
It
the
says the
true
true.
identity of Ruth is revealed when the Doctor
Yeah.
and friends. Now that's interesting because I thought they would probably leave Ruth. I don't know. I feel like either the Master or Ruth's going to come back, but I don't feel we'll get any concrete answers. If we do get answers, it will probably dig up more questions. But I don't
Yeah.
know. I
But
feel like that's probably a fake because
maybe.
people have told me IMDb's unreliable. They did have some fake synopses up for something about the rendition man. You remember that? That's a bit of a distant memory now. But given that I haven't seen it anywhere else, and they tend not to release the synopses officially until a week before, I feel like that's probably we'll see. It's plausible, but yeah, I feel like Can You Hear Me was certainly good, but it could have been a bit better, but certainly I enjoyed it. I'll take it. But we'll see what happens sort of with repeat viewings and let the dust settle on it and yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, for next week, again, the video might be a few days late. We'll see what we can do. But
We'll
again,
keep you posted.
make sure you're following us on Twitter and whatnot. So yeah, I think that's all we have to say. Overall ranking for Can You Hear Me? I'd give it an 8 out of 10.
7
Uh,
out of 10.
well, fair enough then. We'll meet in the middle, 7.5. So that
Mm.
was Can You Hear Me? So we'll see you next week for The Haunting of. You can say that because I always butcher it.
Villa Diodati. I'm not even sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly, but
That
I'm
sounds
I'm
about
just
right.
glad we actually get an episode title that begins with D because I remember thinking they were a bit passé, but now we haven't had that at all. It feels quite.
Yeah, what relation was Can You Hear Me? I know we're rambling like we always do, but what relation was Can You Hear Me? Even apart from the fact
Well,
she said it at the
it was the
beginning, but
first line, but yeah, it feels like a weird title for it to
like
be
the
honest. But
Eternals would have made more sense or something like that. But
yeah, the episode titles have been a bit weird. I still think Spyfall, although I'm used to it, it's a bit of a stupid title. But I would have preferred something like I Spy, but it's like a lowercase I, like Apple. I would have called it that. I mean, so many titles anyway. To hell
yeah.
with them.
Okay, so that wraps up our review for Can You Hear Me? So we will see you all next time.
Finally, we're wrapping up.
Yeah.
See you next time. Bye bye.
Goodbye.